The PFCizer is a cognitive workout system that will involve a range of games and exercises meant to make your prefrontal cortex run the most it can be. With PFCizer, instead of free weights, we will be employing a range of challenging interpersonal navigations, fun self-assessment, and various innovative incentives to get that prefrontal cortex so swole like never before. Choose your name, and let's begin. Pam Bondi. Okay, step in front of this mirror for today's exercise. Oh, Miss Bondi, it seems your role in the current federal administration qualifies you for a free workforce development intensive. This is a special program that the Department of Labor has been spearheading, leveraging the PFCizer technology to develop novel reasonable accommodations for folk with any conditions regarding the prefrontal cortex, especially if the client has or will be taking on roles that immediately benefit from emotional regulation, attunement to neurologically diverse social environments, and simulating team members to preemptively identify opportunities for support, etc. We just need to administer this battery of exercises to see where you would most benefit from this new suite of pro-social exercises. First, an entry point in the form of this statement, which has no wrong answers. Complete the form. You will know me, Pam Bondi, by my unwavering loyalty. I champion my team's goals with absolute clarity, and I view opposing arguments not as dialogues, but as obstacles to be overcome. Excellent. Thank you for that direct input, Miss Bondi. That's a powerful, well-defined cognitive stance. Our telemetry indicates a high degree of activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, specifically pathways associated with goal maintenance and inhibition of distracting information. Fantastic baseline. That's the get it done muscle. Now we're going to layer on a small exercise targeting the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which is your hub for empathy, emotional regulation in social contexts, and integrating differing values. Think of it less like a deadlift and more like a demanding partner yoga pose. To your left, you'll see a photorealistic holographic avatar materializing. Let's call him Kenneth. A slightly harried-looking man in a wrinkled dress shirt appears, holding a stack of file folders that seem to be on the verge of collapsing. Hello, Kenneth. Kenneth is a career civil servant from the General Services Administration. Our simulation data has assigned him a cognitive profile with high trait conscientiousness and threat aversion. For Kenneth, sudden policy shifts trigger a deep-seated executive function error that he experiences as procedural dread. Now, Kenneth is about to present you with 3 meticulously researched reasons why a theoretical proposal you've just championed is, in his view, a logistical nightmare that flouts interdepartmental precedent. Your exercise is as follows. The goal is not to defeat Kenneth's arguments. His points will be frustratingly robust. Your goal is to get this biometric ring on your finger to stay green. It will flash yellow if your heart rate indicates you are framing the interaction as a confrontation. It will turn red if your cortisol levels suggest you've classified Kenneth as an obstacle. Your objective: listen to all 3 of his points and then articulate a path forward that successfully incorporates at least one of his logistical concerns. You can't just dismiss it. You have to find a way to make his problem a part of your solution. Ready to flex that ventromedial bureaucracy? Okay, Kenneth, you have the floor. Let her have it. Yes, Kenneth, I'm all ears. Good. A neutral opening. A single yellow blip pulses from the biometric ring on your finger, then fades. The PFCizer unit quietly registers it. Trainer's voice low, calm. Okay, a minor adrenal spike just there. The telemetry notes your limbic system classified the opening as a let's get through this frame. It's a common starting point when shifting cognitive gears. The goal is a steady green receptive inquiry state. Let's see how your system handles the data ingest. Breathe. Kenneth is only a simulation. Kenneth straightens up, grips his files tighter, and clears his throat. He doesn't make direct eye contact. focusing instead on a point just over your shoulder. Thank you, ma'am. To be clear, my department sees the profound potential of Project Cincinnatus, but our job is to map the terrain between the bold vision and the Monday morning reality. Our review flight 3 primary, non-negotiable logistical hurdles. First and foremost, the fund dependency. The Federal Acquisitions and Records Management System that will process these new workforce assignments still runs on the COBOL framework from 1988. It cannot interface directly with the new API protocols. To make it work, every single case file would have to be printed, hand-stamped by a G14 authorizer, physically scanned on machines we don't even have yet, and then manually kitted by a temp workforce we'd have to contract. We project a data entry error rate of 15-20% and a 12-week lag time at minimum. It's an infrastructural non-starter. The ring flickers yellow again, more intensely this time. The trainer's voice is audible but very soft. Dorsolateral prefrontal is flaring, trying to problem solve the technical details instead of the social ones. Just observe the data, don't rebut it yet. Stay with Kenneth. Secondly, Kenneth continues, his voice strained. There's the interagency move with the Department of Labor. Our existing Memorandum of Understanding stipulates that any program introducing more than 2000 new federal role designations automatically triggers a socio-economic impact review, which per the text takes 2 fiscal quarters to complete. Legal has advised us that implementing Project Cincinnatus without this review would likely violate the terms of the memorandum and expose the administration to potential litigation from, he gestures vaguely, a number of interested parties. A definite hot pulse of red, this time on the ring. It fades back to yellow. The trainer notes. The institutional roadblock trigger. Classic cortisol response. The activity dropped for a moment there. A momentary override signal wanting to find out whose fault that moo is. Bring it back. He's got one more point. Kenneth takes a shallow breath. And finally, ma'am, this one's the real blocker. Personnel. Our current union contract with the Amalgamated Federal Employees Guild requires a 4-month retraining and reclassification negotiation window for any role that is modified more than 25%. Analysis shows this project retasks about 4,000 employees at an 80% modification rate. The effect will demand a full congressional oversight committee. They always do. We wouldn't see the first person in the new chair until summer of next year at best. He finishes and shuffles his feet, finally meeting your gaze. He looks apologetic, but resolute, exhausted. The holographic man stands quietly, the air now thick with his logistical burdens. Trainer's voice come clear. Okay, Miss Bondi. Beautiful. A textbook trio of bureaucratic torpedoes. He has handed you unsolvable problems framed as humble reports. A peak beam perfect stress test. The ring is glowing a steady, agitated yellow. You feel the impulse to tell him that vision overcomes process, that leadership means cutting Gordian knots. Yes, your goal is to inhibit that perfectly natural instinct. Find one part of this morass, the ancient computers, the Badal agreement, the union, and integrate his reality into your vision. Show Kenneth his caution has been heard. The floor is yours. Remember the goal. Keep the ring green. Acknowledge his work and incorporate just one of his concerns into your proposed path forward. What do you say to him? Thank you, Kenneth, for bringing these to my attention. Points 2 and 3 will require some thought, and I can give you an appropriate response by end of week. But I wondered if point 1 might have a solution already at hand. We have to have a team hand type the documents. I suspect that OCR and multimodal machine learning models might help accelerate the workflow and shrink the timeline. Has incorporating those technologies been considered? As you say, thank you, Kenneth. The biometric ring on your finger dims from agitated yellow and settles into a cool, calm green. The system registers a successful initial escalation. Trainer's voice approvingly. Excellent. Acknowledgement first. Validate the labor before questioning the results. Cortisol levels are nominal. Textbook VMPAF activation. But as you pivot to your technological solution, OCR and multimodal machine learning models, the ring immediately flashes a sharp, insistent yellow again with flecks of orange. Kenneth's posture visibly tightens. His shoulders hunch slightly, a classic threat response behavior. Trainer's voice analytical, not critical. Okay, and there's the executive override. A common reflex. Your tactical brain, the bureaucracy, jumped at a logical gap and offered a fix. It's an efficient move, but observe Kenneth's reaction. You haven't addressed his problem, which is infrastructural brittleness and a beleaguered team. You've dismissed it with a solution he perceives as outside his operational reality. The subtext he heard was not here is help, but your team failed to consider the obvious. This re-engages his defensiveness. He's no longer your collaborator. He's now defending his team's competence. Watch. Kenneth takes a shallow breath and gives a tight, brief nod. Yes, ma'am. Naturally. That was Directive 7A of our initial feasibility study. Exploration of automated data intake. Our CISO's office flagged it almost immediately. He opens one of his folders, though he doesn't seem to need it, and taps a line with his finger. The case files we'd be processing contain significant amounts of PI, personally identifiable information. As of now, only 3 OCR/ML hybrid vendors are FedRAMP certified to handle that level of data classification. To have explicitly stated they cannot guarantee the system would work with source document scan from dot matrix printouts on 20-year-old carbon paper, which is about 40% of the relevant backfile. He looks up, his expression strained but firm. The third vendor agreed to a pilot program, but the preliminary authorization to operate process from our security team would take, ironically, an estimated 6 months. Longer than the manual entry time for the initial batch. It became prohibitively recursive. It would be another point of failure, another contracted to manage, another, frankly, dream that my team would be tasked with implementing on an impossible timeline. So, yes, ma'am, it was considered diligently. He stops, the quiet accusation of we'd do our jobs hanging in the air. The ring is a solid, stubborn yellow. Trainer's voice. See that? He just built his wall higher and used your idea as the brick. You are now further from your goal. Your powerful logic and problem-solving impulse backfired in a social context. His concern wasn't just technical, it was emotional. A deep weariness with new mandates. Let's rewind. Kenneth is looking at you. His insurmountable obstacles presented once more. The ML model is off the table. He's proven his point. You still need to acknowledge one of his core problems, the clunky farm system, the bad move with labor, or the difficult union negotiations, and bring him on board. How do you respond now to show that you've truly heard him this time? The goal isn't just to solve his problem, it's to make him feel like part of the solution. Keep your eyes on the ring. What do you say now, Miss Bondi? Okay, I stand corrected. I'm going to assume that your team has treated the other 2 difficulties of been just as thoroughly and mindfully laid out. It seems my job is now how to break the bad news to my bosses. Clearly, these obstacles aren't going to be resolved with brute force. How would your team advise moving forward? I can then work with you on the best way to frame the potential solutions. A brilliant, incandescent green floods the biometric ring on your finger. It doesn't flicker. It hums with a steady, stable light. The PFCizer unit makes a soft, melodic chime, a sound the trainers have started calling the breakthrough tone. Trainer's voice low and frankly amazed. Wow. Okay. Stop the exercise for a moment. Kenneth's avatar freezes mid-posture. Miss Bondi, there was perfect cognitive reframing. Full system reset. Let's analyze the telemetry. First, I stand corrected. You sacrifice positional status to gain tactical trust. It short-circuited Kenneth's entire defensive loop. Ego suppression in the service of goal alignment. That's a black belt PC move right there. Second, you reframed the entire interaction. It's no longer you vs Kenneth, it's you. And Kenneth vs a shared problem. The problem being breaking the news to the bosses. You put yourself on his side of the table. We logged a massive drop in his simulated cortisol levels and a spike in oxytocin precursors. You created an ally out of an obstacle without invalidating a single one of his facts. And a master stroke. How would your team advise moving forward? That right there is the inverse of brute force. You aren't imposing will. You're harvesting wisdom. You just converted him from a reluctant gatekeeper into an invested collaborator. Okay, exercise running. The scene unfreezes. The effect on Kenneth's avatar is instantaneous and profound. You can literally see the tension release from his shoulders. He places his wobbly stack of folders, once a defensive shield, onto a nearby and equally holographic table with a soft thud. For the first time, he makes full, direct eye contact. There's a new light in his eyes. It's not defeat, it's engagement. Well, ma'am, he says, his voice now low, calm. That's the most constructive framing that anyone has offered yet. He runs a hand through his hair. If my team had to, if we were asked to architect a possible path instead of just an old path, well, he starts thinking, pacing a step. We'd advise against doing it all at once. Project Cincinnatus is trying to be a sweeping victory, but victory comes in stages. We could use that inconvenient move with labor to our advantage. He turns back to you, animated now. We framed it to the bosses as a mandatory, legally shielded pilot program. We select just one division for the initial deployment. That limits the staffing reassignment and lets us negotiate with the effect from a position of limited experimental testing rather than permanent departmental overhaul. That sidesteps the biggest union fight, and it gives us cover to secure a vendor for just 1,000 phylos. Yeah, test run, so we can finally prove whether this new tech even works on the GSA's ancient documents. He stops himself, looking as if he's surprised at his own enthusiasm. We can design the pilot plan, he says, with a newfound sense of purpose. We can give you the roadmap. It wouldn't be the shuck and dog campaign it's currently written as, but it would actually work. He looks at you expectantly, for the first time treating you not just as an executive, but as a genuine partner. The ring on your finger glows an unwavering, confident green. Trainer's voice. And there it is, the possible path. You just completed a full workout circuit for the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. Your pro-social lift score is off the charts. Congratulations, Miss Bondi. We have a lot of productive work ahead of us.
I'm gonna try, see what Stephen Miller does.